I always said I wasn't going to do any more, and that's true, because I'm not going to do any more. But that doesn't mean I'm unwilling to turn it over to Kathy to do more. Mm-hmm. I have story treatments of 7, 8, and 9, and a bunch of other movies, and obviously we have hundreds of books and comics and everything you could possibly imagine. So, you know, I sort of moved that treasure trove of stories and various things to Kathy, and you know, I have complete confidence that she's going to take them and make great movies.
We are absolutely going to make Star Wars movies, and we're in the midst of the really fun part of the process, which is we're sitting down with a couple of writers and we're starting to discuss ideas, and we're starting to talk about what those stories might be. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to be entirely on my own, because it's important that he at least continue to be the little guardian angel on my shoulder, helping me do this.
They're finishing the hologram now. Don't worry.
Yeah. My Yoda has to be there.
I'm doing this so that the films will have a longer life, and so that more fans and people can enjoy them into the future. It's a very big universe I've created, and there's a lot of stories that are sitting in there.
The main thing is to protect these characters, make sure that they still continue to live in the way that you created them, and that the universe of Star Wars continues to grow.
I get to be a fan now, which is what I was saying before, and I sort of look forward to it. It's a lot more fun, actually, than actually having to go out in the mud and
you could actually blog about what we're doing and how we're messing things up.
No. I just say, gosh, they're out in the snow and it's cold, and hopefully it'll be an inspiring package of entertainment that it has always been well into the future.
Hello everyone, this is the Androdal, aka the German Viking, and today I wanted to talk about Disney betraying George Lucas and his vision. And this is from Boning Into Comics, John F. Trent. Bob Iger admits George Lucas felt betrayed with Disney's version of Star Wars. Well, we could have told him that right away with The Force Awakens. At least I did a scathing review of it. Disney CEO Bob Iger admitted George Lucas felt betrayed with Disney's direction with Star Wars. Iger made comments in his new book, The Ride of a Lifetime, Lessons Learned from 15 Years as a CEO of the Walt Disney Company. As reported by user Lolifrol in the Star Wars League subreddit, Iger discusses the sale of Star Wars to Disney and Lucas's role in the films. During the purchase process, Lucas informed Iger and Disney that he had outlines made up for the 3 new movies that would follow the events of Return of the Jedi. At some point, this is the quote, "At some point in the process, George told me that he had completed outlines for the 3 new movies. He agreed to send us 3 copies of the outlines, one for me, one for Alan Braverman, and one for Alan Horn, who had just been hired to run our studio. Alan Horn and I read George's outlines and we decided we needed to buy them, though we made clear in the purchase agreement that we would not be contractually obligated to adhere to the plot lines he had laid out. Not only did Iger and Disney purchase the outlines, but they also made it clear that Lucas's new role with Star Wars would be to act as a creative consultant, and that he would not have creative control over the next 3 films. Iger makes it clear that Disney's Star Wars team would not be beholden to Lucas's ideas, though. How stupid can you be? How stupid can you be to not even listen to what he has to say? Here's the quote. "He knew that I was going to stand firm on the questions of creative control, but it wasn't an easy thing for him to accept. And so he reluctantly agreed to be available to consult with us at our request. And I promise that we will be open to his ideas. This was not a hard promise to make. Of course, we would be open to George Lucas's idea, but like the outlines, we would be under no obligation." Iger confirmed that he, Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams, and Michael Arndt were not going to follow Lucas's outlines. You stabbed him in the back. You are the Benedict Arnold of the of the entertainment industry. Kathleen Kennedy sat there and lied to George Lucas's face on camera, to his face, and said they would respect and honor the characters of George Lucas. This blows my mind. Early on, Kathy brought JJ and Michael up to Northern California to meet with George at his ranch and to talk about their ideas for the film. George immediately got upset as they began to describe the plot, and it dawned on him that that we weren't using one of the stories he submitted during the negotiations. Iger then details that George became upset when they detailed the plot for The Force Awakens. Iger claimed George was upset because Disney had decided not to use his outlines rather than the actual plot of The Force Awakens. This is why Disney Star Wars is dead. This is the reason why you are in the pickle you are. This is why Star Wars is dead. You morons did not listen to George Lucas. He even consulted you, told you this was wrong, and you did not listen. You absolute... Oh my god. Then Iger reveals that he, Kennedy, Alan Horn, and J.J. Abrams had already planned out the direction they wanted to take the new Star Wars. That direction was most definitely not George's. The truth was, this is a quote again, Kathy, JJ, Alan, and I had discussed the direction in which the saga should go, and we all agreed it wasn't what George had outlined. George knew we weren't contractually bound to anything, but he thought that our buying the story treatments was a tacit promise that we'd follow them, and he was disappointed that his story was being discarded. This is why Disney is cancer to the industry. Everything they buy, they infest and destroy from within. Just look at what Marvel is becoming. Just look at what Disney is. Just look at what they're doing to their beloved movies, remaking them, and they are cancer to the industry. Iger admits that he should have handled the situation better, and that he should have prepared Lucas for the meeting with Abrams and Raj. That wouldn't have changed anything. I can tell you that. You betrayed him, and you'll think he'd not be upset? What? I'd been so careful since our first conversation not to mislead him in any way, and I didn't think I had now, but I could have handled it better. I should have prepared him for the meeting with JJ and Michael and told him about our conversations, that we felt it was better to go in another direction. I could have talked through this with him and possibly avoided angering him by not surprising him. He then reveals that Lucas felt betrayed by Disney. Now, in the first meeting with him about the future Star Wars shows, felt betrayed, and while his whole process would never have been easier for him, how would it? You know what would have been easier if you actually had kept your promises and followed the outline. You backstabbing SOB. We'd gotten off on an unnecessary rocky start. That's your entire goddamn fault. You morons bought Star Wars off George. He even handed you the keys how to outline your movies and make a great story. But you ignored that. Instead, you wanted to make a Han Solo movie after The Last Jedi, after almost completing the movie. You are so incompetent. I don't understand how you can have the biggest IP ever created. You piss it away to EA and let them handle Battlefront in the most horrendous ways I've ever seen a game being handled. There are horrible ways that games have been handled, but this, oh my god. And then you ignore George Lucas's outline and promises, backstabbing, and you're surprised he got angered. You are the scum of you can't even hold your own word. Your word means nothing. What a person has is his word or her word to be and to have some honor, to have some honesty, and those words mean something. Your word means something. Not only did George feel betrayed by Disney, but he was unimpressed by the final product in The Force Awakens. Iger details George's initial impression after seeing the film. Just prior to the global release, Kathy screened The Force Awakens for George. He didn't hide his disappointment. There's nothing new. Thank you! This is what I and others have been saying for years now. There's nothing new. It's a carbon copy. He said in each of the films in the original trilogy, it was important to him to present new worlds, new stories, new characters, new technologies. In this one, he said there weren't any enough visual or technical leaps forward. Thank you! Iger admits George's criticism were on point, that The Force Awakens did not prove anything new to Star Wars fans. However, he criticizes George for not understanding the pressure Disney was under. What? The fans would have watched anything. You rushed it. You were the ones that rushed it. You had the biggest IP. You could have taken your time, talked to George, had J.J. Kennedy and Michael Arndt have deep and long conversations, make compromises of the script, and maybe release a movie in 2017. Instead of getting the garbage we got. The only thing decent you made was Rogue One, because you were limited in what you could do. Oh my god. Iger admits George's criticisms were on point and that The Force Awakens did not provide anything new to Star Wars fans. However, he criticizes George for not understanding the pressure Disney was under. He wasn't wrong, but he also wasn't appreciating the pressure we were under to give audience fans a film that felt quite essentially Star Wars. Then why didn't you use a script? Why didn't you use a script, Bob Iger? You are such a hypocrite. Oh my god. Iger then reveals Force Awakens and its lack of imagination was Disney's design through and through. We'd intentionally created a world that was visually and totally connected to the earlier films to not stray too far from what people loved and expected. And George was criticizing us for the very thing we were trying to do. Yeah, because you have no idea what Star Wars is. You are so ignorant. You can't even make your own story. You had to copy Episode 7 from Episode 4. Iger then states he believes J.J. Abrams achieved the near impossible with The Force Awakens. No, he didn't. Looking back with the perspective of several years and a few more Star Wars movie films, I believe J.J. achieved the near impossible, creating the perfect bridge between what had been and what was to come. Bullcrap. George Lucas's comments about Disney and Star Wars in 2015. These comments aren't groundbreaking. Lucas was open about his criticism of The Force Awakens when the film debuted. He told Vanity Fair in 2015, the issue was ultimately they looked at the stories and they said, we want to make something for the fans. People don't actually realize it's actually a soap opera and it's about all about family problems. It's not about spaceships, so they decided they didn't want to use those stories. They decided they were going to do their own thing, so I decided, fine. Lucas also called Disney white slavers, which they are, basically. They took someone's hard work and then hired hired guns and butchered his creation. In an interview with Variety back in 2015, after The Force Awakens opened in the theaters, Lucas stated, I sold them to white slavers that takes these things, and he ultimately describes The Force Awakens in a backhanded comment. I think the fans are going to love it. It's very much kind of the movie they've been looking for. In that same interview, he discussed that Disney did not want to use his outlines for a sequel Star Wars trilogy. They looked at the stories, and this is a quote by the way, they looked at the stories and they said, we want to make something for the fans. They decided they didn't want to use those stories. They decided they were going to do their own thing. They weren't keen to have me involved. Anyway, this this is so bad treatment of or George Lucas, it's embarrassing. It's almost how Marvel has, or people have been treating Stan Lee in his elder days. People who have created the most fantastical of stories, and they get treated like crap by these big companies that are so out of touch. They are garbage. But if I get in there, I'm just going to cause trouble, because they're not going to do what I want them to do, and I don't have the control to do that anymore. And all I wanted to do is muck everything up, and I said, and so I said, okay, I will go my way, and let them go their way. Let's see okay, I'm calling it Disney Star Wars is not canon. This is on account if it does not follow Lucas's creative vision, which was always the benchmark for Star Wars canon. It is in fact expensive fan fiction masqueraded as licensed product. This is evident by its focus on Mary Sue, its conveniently ignored plot holes, and generally poor construction as a story. Now I'd really like to read those outlines, maybe get some renegade authors to flesh them out as the official and non-Disney approved versions of the events. Yeah, that's what I'm subscribed to a guy called David Stewart. You should subscribe to him. He's very good. He goes into detail when it comes to writing and deconstruction of plots. And he's basically also said that telling that what Disney is creating is basically just expensive fan fiction at this point. This is fan fiction. They didn't follow George's universe, his rules, his story, his canon, and they created garbage. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye.